All right, so I want to get started because something that drew me to you and like your Instagram is that you have the lived experience of PCOS. Like
Yes.
you know what it feels like. And I find that so important. I focus on helping women with binge eating disorder and body image. And I do have that lived experience and I feel like it gives us a very different perspective with treating our clients. So that's kind of what drew me to you. So I kind of want to hear your story on PCOS, how it impacted you, kind of how you found out you had it and what led you to focus on it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do have PCOS, and I did not know that I had PCOS until later in life. Like, probably many, listeners who, have PCOS can probably resonate with that. But I always felt like something was off. I remember being in high school and listening to my friends in the locker room talk about, like, oh, my period will be here Friday. Oh, mine will be here Saturday. And I'm just thinking to myself, how do you know that? Like, mine, she just shows up, rolls in like whenever she feels like it, stays around way too long, and then is MIA for like months and months. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
felt a lot of guilt and shame attached to that because I felt like I was less womanly as my
Mm-hmm.
peers, and that stuck with me for a long time, and it was hard. So I really hope, now in my work, I can help just, if I could help just one girl to not feel like that and just feel
Yeah.
like she's normal and she's okay, even if we have this added layer of the complexities that come with PCOS. So as I got older and I decided to become a dietitian, I started to learn a little bit more about hormones and endocrinology. And I started to hear about PCOS a little bit more. And I was like, ooh, that sounds like me. So I just kind of took off from there. I decided to open up my private practice, and I thought, number one thing is I don't want to work in PCOS. It's too complicated. Like, I don't want to even go there. But
Yeah.
then I started to think about it, and having PCOS myself, being a dietitian, and then understanding there's such a huge connection between how and what we're eating and how our symptoms manifest. And here I
Mm-hmm.
am, an RD who learns everything and more, more than you want to know, about blood sugar regulation, insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity medicine, all of these things. I thought, you know what? I am sort of the perfect person to step into this space. And I did. And I have never
Yeah.
looked back. And I absolutely love what I do every single day. So that's
Yes.
kind of how I came to be. And yeah, now I get to
Yeah.
work with women all over the world. And it's just so fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
such a good story too. I love that you're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I kind of went through that
Yeah.
too because I did
Mm-hmm.
I did an internship for my mental health counseling internship. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to work with like eating disorders. Once I ended,
Yeah.
I was
It's a
like,
big,
no, I
it's
really want to work
heavy.
with eating disorders. Yeah, yeah. But that's
Yes.
kind of what lets you know, like once you start to give yourself the option of like not doing it, then you're like, actually, no, I do want to do it. And it kind of
Yes.
brings you back to, I guess,
Exactly.
what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
true. Yeah.
I think so. What I want to get from you today is a good understanding of PCOS. I find
Yeah.
my clients, especially with like the cravings, some of them are wondering if they have PCOS. They have so many questions. Obviously, I'm not
Yeah.
one to like give them advice or anything, but they don't know where to start. They don't know what to look for. They don't even know what it is. So if they feel intense cravings, which could be part of the binge eating disorder that we're treating, they start to get confused. So if you're able to kind of explain a little bit about like what it is and what
Totally.
I guess like what it
Yeah.
is first and then how it can show up for you in the day to day.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's back it up. So PCOS
Yeah.
stands for polycystic ovary syndrome, and it is the most common endocrine, which basically means hormone condition, and also the leading cause of infertility worldwide. So researchers estimate about anywhere between 10 to 15% of menstruating women, and actually I argue beyond that because PCOS really never leaves, have PCOS. So that means there's a lot of work for us to do. And polycystic ovary syndrome, basically, there's you have to meet 2 out of 3 diagnostic criteria in order to be diagnosed. So the first one is having polycystic ovaries, which we would really only know if we did a pelvic ultrasound. And the second one is having irregular periods. And when I say irregular, a lot of us associate PCOS with a missing period, which can totally be the case, but some of us are just bleeding and spotting all the time, and that can still be PCOS. Some of us just have really erratic periods. There's no schedule, right? So all of these can point to the same issue in that we're not ovulating on a consistent basis, which we want to be. And we can talk about that later. But the third criteria is having elevated androgens, which are male sex hormones like testosterone, or the symptoms of that, which could be facial and body hair growth, acne, hair loss on the head, irregular periods, and also weight gain. So that's why it can get so tricky, because if someone has a regular period, they may think, I don't have PCOS, but they in fact can if they meet the other 2 diagnostic criteria.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So if they see like let's say somebody just has irregular periods, right?
Yeah.
Are they a candidate for PCOS? Would they be like, you know what, I need to check this out? Or is this just something that could be natural?
Absolutely, yeah. The other thing that can contribute to irregular periods is a thyroid issue. So you can get your thyroid levels checked as well. Elevated prolactin can also cause that, but I would definitely start with testing. Ask your doctor for a full hormone panel. Try to get your blood sugar checked as well. Those are like the very basics. We could have a whole episode on lab work and blood work that I like to give my patients, like a huge panel and a list. And then also make sure that you're asking for a pelvic ultrasound to see if we can see that kind of classic polycystic ovary presentation.
Okay. Yeah. And how do you find these, I guess, signs, the day-to-day signs that they can look for to be like, oh, maybe I need to start to look into this?
Yeah, good question. So irregular periods, we talked about it. Weight gain that feels like it just comes out of nowhere is another telltale sign. If you feel like I have changed really not much, but all of a sudden my appetite's crazy, my cravings are crazy, I'm having, loud food noise, what is going on here? You might want to check for that. And then those androgen symptoms, right? So facial body hair growth, if you're suddenly losing hair from your head, and we always say if you're growing hair where you don't want it and losing it where you do, that could totally be a sign that you have elevated androgens. Acne is another one. And then, those pretty much cover it. And then fatigue is another huge thing. So one of the main drivers for PCOS is insulin resistance, is a blood sugar issue. Yeah. And so that can directly lead to cravings and fatigue. Of course, those are the perfect storm for weight gain, right? We're too tired to be active. We're too tired to feel like we can do much of anything. And we have these wild carbohydrate, sugary, calorie dense food cravings that we really can't ignore. That's where that weight can, kind of component can come into play.
And I hear often the weight piece when it comes to PCOS, right? Yeah. And I hear a lot of times people say that it's harder to lose weight and easier to gain it. But I wanted to know if it was like just your body working like that, or was it like more kind of the impact that it had, like you mentioned, like heightened cravings and more fatigued? Or is it that your body just like keeps more weight out of nowhere?
Yeah, good question. So there is an actual reason. It's, contrary to some of people's beliefs, it's not a willpower issue. It is a hormonal issue. So elevated levels of insulin are what contribute to that. Basically, they can cause easier, more fat storage. Your body can just more easily store and put on fat and is less likely to readily let it go. So that's probably the key piece. Testosterone can also play a role in that. And also inflammation. Inflammation can be, a main driver for almost every health condition out there. PCOS is no exception. So we can see a lot within that as well. When it comes to like bloat, water, retention, feeling puffy, we hear about like moon face or cortisol face. That can definitely be present in PCOS. PCOS, because there's
Mm-hmm.
also this adrenal component going on where we can have, more intense reactions to stress, and that can manifest really physically for us. So there's kind of a lot within that, but I would say the
Mm-hmm.
number one would be the insulin resistance piece. Yeah. And you would really only
Interesting.
know that you're insulin resistant if you go get testing done. So I
Yeah.
always say take advantage of that, one little free panel that we get, yay for us, once a
Yeah.
year, hopefully through our insurance, and get your blood sugars checked. See what's going on with
Mm-hmm.
your fasting insulin, your fasting glucose, and your A1C. Those three are, I mean, preferably all three, but at least that A1C to get a good look at kind of what's been happening in the blood sugar department. Yeah.
Okay. And when you mentioned inflammation,
Yeah.
sorry, what does that mean? Like
Yeah.
inflammation, how does that
Yeah.
impact? Or what
Yeah.
impacts it?
So inflammation can be such a vague term, right? Like we hear inflammation, lower inflammation. What does that mean? Inflammation is a naturally occurring process in the body. It's necessary, right? Like
Uh-huh.
if we get a splinter, our body reacts and it gets all, the injury gets red, and that's your body like
Right.
doing its thing. Like we need to have a certain amount of inflammation, but when it's running chronically high, and we can see so much inflammation when it comes to even the food that we have, that we're eating these days that are, I don't like the term processed food, but I'm going to use the term ultra processed food in hopes that,
Yeah.
listeners know what we're talking about, viewers and listeners know what we're talking about. But your diet can really heavily influence inflammation levels in the body. And women with
Mm-hmm.
PCOS have higher markers of what's called CRP, which is an
Mm-hmm.
inflammatory marker in the blood. So
Mm-hmm.
inflammation can drive so many different destructive health processes in the body, like contributing to heart disease, contributing to diabetes, just pretty much everything. So we do see
Mm-hmm.
those higher levels in women with PCOS, but we can make really good traction in lowering them if we work on our diet.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is women with PCOS kind of struggle more when it comes to the inflammation, when it comes to the cravings, when it comes to the weight.
Mhm.
Like those,
Absolutely.
because at least me as like a therapist and I guess an eating disorder therapist and a coach,
Yeah.
these are the things that people come to me struggling with. They're like,
Yeah.
how do I deal with this? How do I deal
Yeah.
with being overweight or being judged or feeling like I'm the only puffy one of my friends? Or how do I deal
Mm,
with these cravings?
right.
And some don't have PCOS because they have been tested and all of that. Some are
Yeah.
questioning it, but
Right.
it's like
Hmm.
the struggles that women tend to struggle with are harder or more marked on women who struggle with PCOS.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we absolutely can work on
Mm-hmm.
quieting cravings just by working
Yes.
on, yeah, just by working on healthier blood sugar regulation. And it's a big part of what I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned
Hmm.
food noise, right?
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So, what approach do you take in kind of
Hmm.
quieting that food noise or working on the cravings and all the things that we mentioned?
Yeah, yeah. So it differs per person, obviously. That's like the
Yeah.
the best dietitian answer ever. We always say it depends, it depends. But I would
Yeah.
say as a starting point, I really like to assess somebody's macronutrient intake and what that composition breakdown looks like. So
Mm-hmm.
we really want to see, what are you eating in terms of fiber and protein versus carbohydrates?
Mm-hmm.
And like out of carbohydrates, what of those carbs are fiber rich and what are kind of nutritionally depleted, or like
Mm-hmm.
nutritionally void, I should say. So I love
Yeah.
to see what's going on in their current kind of, dietary intake and how we can go in there and make changes to optimize that for them. Because more often than not, when we change up somebody's macronutrients, we can see so much less of that food noise and cravings because we're feeling fuller, longer, we're more satisfied. We're not always chasing the next, like, hey, I've got to eat again, hungry again. And that's
Mm-hmm.
so powerful. And none of us are taught how to do that in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
So
nobody's
that's a
taught,
starting
like,
point.
how
Yeah.
hungry am I? What am I craving? How is that impacting
Yes.
me? If I'm craving this, does
Yes.
it mean that I'm hungry or should I actually have it? Like, should I
Mm-hmm.
add more protein, more fiber, and stuff like that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hunger and fullness is it's a learned skill. I think a lot of us assume that we're just supposed to know. We're supposed to stop eating when we're full. And we're supposed to just eat when we're hungry. We eat for so many reasons. We eat for social, cultural. There's so many reasons why we eat outside of pure hunger. So helping somebody relearn or learn for the very first time how to identify and track hunger and fullness cues. It sounds small, but it is a game changer for somebody who's struggling with that specific thing. So we can definitely do work in that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think specifically with the people that I work with is kind of allowing them to get back, to let go of like the dieting or like the focusing on the counting and stuff like that and learn this skill. And usually they think it's going to be like the easy part. And I'm like, no, we focus on that like mainly for a while because that's going to be your like baseline that you're going to take for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so it's like so important to be like, no, that's the hard part. Then you can talk about the cultural, like, okay, when you go out to dinner, what you can do and how that impacts you. But when it comes to actually remembering to check in when you're being social and being like having fun and stuff like that, that's the hard part. So it's a very difficult learned skill, but definitely can be done.
Yes. Yeah. It's got to practice it.
Yeah. Yes. When you talk, okay, so I kind of want to get a little bit into, I guess what my clients tell me, right? Usually they say that they go to the doctor and they're told like, oh, you have PCOS and to lose weight.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Because usually they end up confused. They feel kind of like upset because of their weight and their body image and just anything that comes up with that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit about.
I've been there. There. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So weight is not the only way to make progress with PCOS. You know, like I lost 50 pounds and have kept it off for over 10 years and I still struggle. It's not like a cure, but we do have research on when warranted for some women, I would say many women with PCOS, a small reduction in weight can potentially be helpful. And it's not just that, it's because also blood sugar regulation is playing a role. So as we can lose weight, our blood sugar is a little happier. And that can also cause a lot of just positive impact on whatever we're dealing with. It's again, not a magic bullet for everyone, which is why I hate that it's sometimes, we're led to believe that, especially in our doctor's offices. But we do know that it can restore ovulation. So if somebody has super irregular periods or they're working on getting pregnant and they have, or maybe their period's missing, we can usually see their period come back on a more regular schedule when weight loss is, if it's warranted, right? Like if they're, so there's that. But also it's not the end all be all. So it's just kind of this gray area that, if women are wanting to work on that, I want them to work with someone like me who is going to help them do it in a healthy way, because there's so many, as you know, horrible, just restrictive and unnecessarily restrictive diets out there, and most of my clients have tried like all of them. So when I say that I work in weight management, it's not, we're not talking about Jillian Michaels fit fam fat loss. It's not that's not me. I'm not your girl if that's what you're looking for. I work in a non-restrictive weight management zone. So nothing is off limits. All foods can fit, and I just teach you how to set it up. So I teach you the how and the what, and you get to decide, or the how and the when, and you get to decide the what. So it's, I like to always preface that because I never want somebody to think that my practice is that. It is not. But we do know that the majority of women with PCOS, we do struggle with our weight. It is a struggle. So I love working in that side of things because I get to say, hey, here's how to, if you want to pursue that goal, here's how to do it in a way that honors and respects your body, your culture, how you like to eat. I'm not going to tell you to take that off your plate, eliminate that forever. That's not how I work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I love to come at it from that angle. And I really wish that I would have had somebody like me back in the day when I was trying to figure it all out, and trying to put together a diet that would work well for that purpose, but that didn't feel like punishment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, always my saying
Yeah.
is dieting is not nutrition. So if you've tried all the
Yes.
diets and all the things, this is something completely different. Like when you
Yes,
actually
that's a
focus
good way to
on
put it.
inclusive nutrition, somebody that knows
Yes.
how to
Hmm.
approach all the things, the cultural, the emotional, it's completely
Yes.
different.
That's
So
so true.
even when
That's a
my
good
clients
way
are
to
like,
put
I've
it.
tried everything, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Have you tried to actually look at the root of it and
Yes.
not be so
Yes.
restrictive
Right.
and try to just like
Yes.
add and kind of be
Hmm.
more inclusive and
Yes.
holistic?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that's the difference. Yeah.
So true.
And
Yeah.
oh, how does weight impact fertility?
Yeah. So this is a tricky one too. I have to say again, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, we have women who can be in a, 400-pound body and get pregnant just fine. And then we have
Mm-hmm.
women who are at a air quotes healthy, normal BMI or weight for their height and have problems. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's not the end all be all, but I will say in PCOS, like I mentioned, um, if someone is working on fertility and they're in a larger body size, sometimes just by having a small weight reduction, we can restore normal ovulatory patterns and get them pregnant. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite reason to work in weight management. When I can make that happen, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that is anovulation is the reason why PCOS is the leading cause of infertility. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge connection there. So yeah. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
is it like the lack of or the irregular ovulation that impacts the fertility, or are there other factors that impact it?
That's the number one. We do know that PCOS, women with PCOS, we have higher rates of miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
And some research shows that our egg quality might be a little bit less than ideal due to a number of different things with insulin resistance and other hormones. But that's the main reason. That's the one that we focus on the most because it's the number one that we see. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
Alrighty. And are there any like misconceptions that you usually see in the field that your clients tell you, like, oh, my doctor told me this or this person told me that you kind of
Oh,
want to?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can
Oh yeah.
imagine there's many.
There's so many. There's so many, especially on social media. Gosh, where do I start? I think one of the biggest ones is that you need to eliminate gluten and dairy in order to really take control of your PCOS and get better. That's not true for everyone. While it can be
Mm-hmm.
helpful for some of us, we don't have any research showing proving that going gluten and dairy free is the answer for everybody with PCOS. So of course,
Mm-hmm.
if you're lactose intolerant or you're one of the very few who have non, celiac gluten sensitivity, or you're celiac, obviously, um,
Mm-hmm.
or if you struggle with acne, like persistent chronic cystic acne, we do have research on dairy and that one that you could
Mm-hmm.
trial elimination there. But of course, if you fit into one of those categories, you're going to want to go gluten or dairy free. But otherwise, research shows that we can have gluten and dairy just fine, and everything in moderation. I'm not saying go eat like 4 slices of bread 3 times a day, but we can eat like normal people and we can still make traction in every single one of our health goals, weight loss included. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
big one. There's another one that floats around that we can't do high intensity exercises, and I
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of questions about that, and it's kind of sad to me because I get so many women messaging me like, well, I heard I can't do any intense exercise. And so what do you think about this? Because it raises our cortisol. What do you think about this one? What do you think about
Um,
this? And so women are just like too paranoid to even work out, and then we're sedentary. That's not good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
movement, humans are meant to move, not saying we have to be Olympic athletes by any means, but movement is always going to be a good thing. And we've proven that
Yes.
through decades of substantial scientific literature, right? So we can do higher intensity exercises. Of course, again, balance is key. You know, I don't want to send somebody to like a HIIT boot camp 7 days a week for 5 hours. It's fine to do a little bit of cardio. You can do some weightlifting. You can even do a HIIT class. But don't feel so scared that you're going to spike your cortisol, because a lot of things can spike our cortisol, you know, like if I hear an ambulance, that spikes my cortisol. If I get a bad night's sleep, that can spike my cortisol. If you get in an argument, that can spike your cortisol. Cortisol spikes are very temporary and they're going to come back down. So the benefits of exercise far outweigh any very temporary cortisol spike. So don't be afraid of that. Just move your body in a way that feels good to you. So that's another huge one. There's so many out there. Oh my gosh. There's the myth that all of us are overweight and PCOS is a weight problem. No, we have plenty of women who are in smaller bodies still struggling with things like facial hair and acne and infertility. So that's another one that, you know, we see quite often and have to kind of fight against. And there's just tons. Like all of us have elevated testosterone. That's not true either. Some of us don't.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on the last two, because I had like a list of like myths that I wanted to tell you, and you kind of touched on all of them. But when it comes to the cortisol, like how does that? Why is that something to watch out for? Is it only for women with PCOS, or is it just like in general?
Yeah, so cortisol is our stress hormone, but just like inflammation, we talked about that process. We need cortisol. You know, if you think about back in the day, if our ancestors were running from like a saber-toothed tiger, they need that cortisol to kind of like get them out of that bad situation, that like fight or flight. The problem is when we have cortisol running rampant all the time and running high all the time. And it's, you know, it's now in our day and age, you know, thanks to these little handy dandy guys, you know, that we see a lot more stress, and we can never turn our work off, and we're constantly, our brain is stimulated by text and Snapchat and blah, blah, blah. So you know, it makes sense that stress has become this like huge fight. And so cortisol has been talked about a lot more, and I'm glad. But women with PCOS, we're especially susceptible to high cortisol because it can influence our symptoms. So if somebody is having just chronically elevated cortisol, it can cause their period to become irregular. And that's where we see that adrenal dysfunction happening. So some cortisol is good, but too much going on is not a good thing, which is where that myth comes from. Like, don't spike your cortisol because all cortisol is seen as bad. When in reality, we do need some. And exercise is going to spike your cortisol, but it's going to come back down. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I've actually never heard of that. I feel like I've tried to learn as much as I can with PCOS just because I'm a woman. But I've never heard of that piece about the cortisol.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And then the next one was the weight piece that women in all bodies also struggle with PCOS. I think that's a huge myth.
100%. Yep, it really is.
It is. It's so interesting too, because I have clients who do question themselves because they're not in a larger bodies, and they're like, oh, maybe not. And it's like, no, you have to do the research and kind of start to look into it, because it's important.
Yes, absolutely. It's because the term is lean PCOS, although I hate that term because it implies that PCOS is a weight problem, which we know is not true. If someone is questioning that, they can look into lean PCOS, and I'll use the term just because it's what's out there, but they can look into lean PCOS, and typically we have a big adrenal component with lean PCOS. So we're really impacted by stress, and our bodies are kind of like overly dramatic about it, and we perceive normal, typical stressors, and our system goes into overdrive, and we can see symptoms exacerbated, like erratic, ovulation patterns and irregular periods.
Yeah, we have a term called atypical anorexia, and it's just the weight piece that it's like, oh, you're not in a smaller body, and it's like, no, the term is they're still anorexic, like the weight doesn't have to matter, but it's hard because Like all of these
Right.
terms make people
Yes.
focus on weight when it's not really necessary. Like if we can just focus on symptoms and behaviors, it can be way
Mm-hmm.
helpful. And you can just actually get the same results without like the
Yeah.
body image or
Right.
'cause sometimes it can keep you stuck or keep you from
Mm-hmm.
getting the support that you need.
Yes.
So, yeah,
It's true. Yeah.
interesting. Lean
Yeah.
PCOS.
Yeah, yeah, that's I didn't know about the other one. Yeah, I just wish that all these terms could be updated. Like it's 2025. Like even PCOS, it implies that we have ovarian cysts, which isn't always
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah.
Ovarian cysts are very different than these polycystic ovaries that we have with PCOS. So,
Yeah.
yeah, all these, I wish we had like name changes for so many of
We
these.
have to wait
I
a
know.
bit till they
Yeah, wait another
change.
100 years.
Yeah, till a new
Yes.
book comes out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
tell me a little bit about how you treat PCOS, like how
Yeah.
you treat it in your practice, and you have different
Mhm.
programs.
Yeah, yeah. So I have group programs that I run a few times a year, and I have one that's more focused on non-restrictive weight loss, and then I have a fertility focused one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the PCOS Boss Academy and Get Pregnant with PCOS. And then I do have a one-on-one practice where I have trained coaches who work underneath me, and we get to
Mm-hmm.
work with women all over the country, and that's just an amazing arm. And then I have a supplement line called Vita PCOS, which is all supplements geared towards PCOS. So just kind of a different form of support and help that women can get. I do have a book coming out on January 6th, which I haven't formally announced.
Amazing.
Yes, yeah, I'm so
That's so
excited.
great.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. So
Yeah,
hopefully it helps kind of.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. Hopefully, like it can help put PCOS more on the map, which is the
Mm-hmm.
goal. We are talking about it more, but I still feel like there's so much work to do. So, yeah, hopefully can promote it on some like, Good Morning America or the Today
Yes.
Show and try to just get PCOS out there more and inform people about all of the things that we've talked about today and like fight against a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the myths as well. Yeah.
Yeah, inform people
Hmm.
correctly instead of continuing to spread false
Yeah.
information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And tell me about the
Yeah.
supplements, because I have heard
Yeah.
some supplements help, some might
Yeah.
not. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So there I have let's see, I have 5 right now in my line, and I'm coming out with another one in several months. But yeah, there's so many supplements that can be helpful for PCOS, but there's also a lot of garbage out there. So you want to make sure that you're taking
what's the
something that's
garbage?
yeah, right? So, oh my gosh, so many brands. I'm like, wow.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure you're taking something from a reputable brand. You want to make sure it's third party tested. You want to make sure
Hmm.
that it's made, with clean ingredients. Everything I make is made with organic and non-GMO ingredients, and it's made in, an FDA certified facility. And we just launched on Amazon, which is really exciting, big
Oh
for
my
us.
God,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. So that's cool. But yeah, everything that I make it's very like um, each supplement has a purpose. Like for example, my androgen blocker is a formula that has a blend of different things that are supportive of lowering testosterone levels. So it
Hmm.
is a game changer for things like facial hair, body hair, acne, irregular
Hmm.
periods, all of these things, weight gain that PCOS contributes
Hmm.
to and causes. So each one has a purpose, which I love. It's not just like a catch-all, like hormone balance blend. It's like, well, what are we
Yeah.
balancing here? So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm always like in my group programs, people will send me links to supplements and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, you want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much that they put in there just to like beef up the label, and then it's just not helpful. So yeah,
Yeah.
everything that I make is very much designed with, us, me included. I take my own supplements, what is going to be
Hmm.
most beneficial for us and not go in our like supplement graveyard. We all have one, that we never
Yeah.
finish our bottle of a
Yeah.
supplement. Hmm.
I definitely have one.
We all do, girl. We all do. So yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I feel like you
Yeah.
have created the perfect umbrella for people to go
Yes.
to
I
for
hope
whatever
so.
they need.
I hope so.
Yeah.
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 I always say, like, I strive to be the person that I would have wanted when I was younger and trying to figure out like what the heck was going on in my body. So I
Yes.
hope that I accomplish that at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have women that are 40s, in their
Yeah.
40s, trying to see what is happening because there
Yes.
isn't much information on it, or at least
Right?
direct and
Yeah.
clear information on it. I think there's a
Yes.
lot of fear mongering and a lot of just like
Yes.
people talking, and it can
Yep.
be really hard to kind of get clear information. So I'm
So
glad that
true.
you're doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I'm a mental health counselor,
Yes.
are you able to share a little bit about like the emotional toll that PCOS can have, I guess, like mentally on someone? Just because I feel like that can also impact whether you get support, whether you are able to validate yourself and be like, no, I do need this versus I don't. Like, what do you see?
Definitely. I think well, first I'll lead with the statistics. So women with PCOS are 3 times likelier to have anxiety and depression. And
Mm,
I think there's two sides to the coin here. I think one of it is actual real hormonal imbalances at play, like
mm-hmm.
certain hormones that we've got that are completely out of whack. I mean, they can lead to lower serotonin levels, lower dopamine levels. We can feel more anxious if we're not ovulating because we don't have progesterone, which is our calming hormone, to kind of balance out this influx of estrogen in the body, which
Mm-hmm.
can be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
anxiety inducing, right? So there's that. So that's kind of more, physical. And then there's also the other side, which is just dealing with PCOS in and of itself is stressful and hard and can really affect our self-confidence. Like, who wants to like shave a beard every day, right? Like,
Yeah.
who wants to
Yeah.
not be able to fit into the clothes that they used to because of their PCOS? That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that alone can contribute to so many feelings and so many issues and, mental health issues. So I think there's that too. And so I think really both are kind of working together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. And I think also I guess, comparison with people who don't have
Yeah,
it, if you're not really
totally. Been
diagnosed and
there.
working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. You're like,
It's
wait,
so
why is
true.
she doing it? Why does she have such cravings? Or why is she
Yeah.
fine? Doesn't she have the
Yeah.
facial hair?
Yeah.
To feel
Totally.
kind of, I guess,
Yeah.
alone
Oh
in
yeah,
that.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
why can my, friend eat whatever she wants and I like look at something and I gain 10 pounds? It's not fair.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is hard.
definitely. It
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
what about their relationship with food? Because I think when it comes to cravings and
Yeah.
every advice that they've probably heard and
Yeah.
probably, at least from what I see, is made to feel like they're wrong for not having enough discipline or
Yeah.
whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you notice like how it impacts their relationship with food or their body image themselves?
Totally. Yeah, yeah, we see much higher rates of disordered eating because,
Yeah.
yeah, the relationship with food is so messed up, especially if it starts from an early age. Like I can't tell you
Mm-hmm.
how many clients of mine were berated by maybe their mom or another family member because
Yeah.
they were just always larger growing up and nobody knew why and put on these weird crash diets and talk down to, and it's absolutely horrifying some of the stories that I hear. So
Yeah.
absolutely, like our relationship with food is absolutely impacted by the fact that we go to the doctor, we might be feeling really self-conscious about our weight that day, and the number one thing we leave with is you need to lose weight in order to accomplish XYZ. Like how soul
Yeah.
crushing, and I speak from personal experience with that. So it
Mm-hmm.
is really difficult. And a lot of my work is, I don't specialize in eating disorders or binge eating, so I tread lightly here. But a lot of my work with specific clients is just working to undo some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah.
that feels like a comfortable pace for my client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think, because I was going to ask about this, but you kind of already mentioned it, that
Yeah.
you don't do it in a restrictive way,
Yeah. Right.
right? That you kind of
Correct.
focus on
Yeah.
nutrition and all the things without being
Hmm.
restrictive and more like focusing on nutrition, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
What have you seen with that approach? How does it impact your clients? I think in general, I'm sure
Yeah.
they've
Yes.
struggled as well, but I think also the people
Yes.
that struggle with their relationship with food.
Yeah, I think for the most part, just gratitude, that they can do this in a way that doesn't feel horribly restrictive to them, like other things that they've
Hmm.
tried. Um,
Yeah.
we do, if a client is comfortable, we can get into dabbling, with calories. And how
Hmm.
I approach calories is there's a lot wrapped up in that word. But really, calories are
Yeah.
just energy. It's just energy.
Yeah.
And when we focus on it like that, we have to be in an energy deficit in order to lose weight. And we can work on hormones alongside that. You know, some clients are open to receive that and some are like not ready for that. So it just, kind of depends on how they want to take it. But I would say for the most part, it's overwhelming gratitude for learning another way that focuses on what can I add versus what do I need to take away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of the work, because even
Yeah.
with my clients that I don't focus on like weight loss, just because it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Of
I
course.
want to
Yeah.
neutralize everything so that they could just like
Yeah.
live their life.
Totally.
But I
Yeah.
think even part of that work is
Yeah.
neutralizing the word calorie, the
Yes.
word diet, like all of these
Totally.
things,
Yep.
food,
Yeah.
desserts, salads, whatever that is, it's
Mm-hmm.
just food. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's all
Yep.
neutral, because
Yes.
just seeing it in that skewed way or in that
Yep.
emotional way can
Triggered.
keep you stuck in all
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. Because
Yes.
you can
It's so
just be
true.
like something that could be good for you. Not saying that
Yes.
like you have to count calories, but even like
Yeah.
movement or
Yeah.
being social, like all
Mm-hmm.
of these things that could be triggering for you could be keeping you from things that could benefit you. So to be able to take
Yes.
away that like
Totally.
meaning for you
Yes.
can be super helpful too.
Oh, yes. Agreed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. This has been
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. Thank you
Anything
so much.
else that you feel like I'm
Um,
missing? I feel like I just like dove in and I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah. No, I think we covered a lot of good ground.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I could give like three actionable tips to somebody who has PCOS or might think they have PCOS and is struggling with something, like cravings. My first recommendation would be to try to check in with how much protein and fiber you're getting. And
Mm-hmm.
there are all kinds of apps that maybe you don't want to hop onto, but you don't have to track anything else. Just kind of see what you're up to in those two departments. And somebody, a coach can help you, whether it's someone like me or you. I don't know if you do this actually, but can help you
I do.
understand, okay, what your ideal grams of protein and fiber might look like, and see if you
Mm-hmm.
can get
Mm-hmm.
closer to those goals, and try to check in and notice the difference in how that can
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Number two is inositol. Inositol is probably the top recommended, most well-known PCOS supplement out there, and it
Mm-hmm.
is
That's the one that I've heard
so
of.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing for regulating your blood sugar, which then turns down the volume knob on cravings. So it's something
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend. I make one. It's called Ova Support, and I make it because I know inositol is so powerful and wonderful. So that's another tool that so many women can find some relief from. And
Mm-hmm.
the third is just working on your stress, whether or not you identify as someone who's feeling stressed. I've been talking about this a lot in recent podcasts, but just kind of rediscovering your joy. I feel like this day and age, like I mentioned, we're just constantly stimulated. Things are
Yeah.
coming at
Yeah.
us. We're comparing ourselves on social media. We're scrolling ourselves to sleep, scrolling ourselves awake. We're on
Yeah.
electronics. We're indoors. We live more of our life indoors now than ever before. And we have study after study showing that we're just happier when we're outside. And
Yeah.
we've also lost a lot of us don't pursue hobbies anymore. Our hobby
Yeah.
is our hustle, right? We're trying to make a dollar somewhere else or promote
Mm-hmm.
ourselves
Mm-hmm.
or get a like on social media. So rediscover some of your joy and yeah, that doesn't directly cause less cravings, but I just feel like happiness, joy, and like natural anti-anxieties and mood boosters go so far in just helping your PCOS as a whole and really helping to regulate your nervous system and your adrenals,
Mm-hmm.
because we've just gotten so far from all of that. So find some time
Yeah.
that you can take for yourself, start a new hobby, get into an old one, be outside a little bit more, and really think about how you're using these devices that we're on all the time. And, it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
set boundaries for yourself there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I was
Mm-hmm.
reading a book the other month, I think it was like a month ago, but
Mm-hmm.
it compared kind of how different generations deal with their life so
Yeah.
differently through the development of technology, and it was
Oh,
so interesting to see. And it
yes.
was literally what you
Yeah.
just mentioned, like the
Mm.
outdoors generation, I think they called it,
Mm.
just disappeared. Like we
Oh my
don't let
gosh.
our
Yeah.
kids, not that I have kids, but we don't
Yeah.
let kids
Yeah.
just like
I
roam
have kids.
around,
Yeah.
be
It's true.
outside. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
also take away independence, you take away social cues. It's very
Yes.
interesting how it's impacting us, I think, obviously as
Yes.
kids, but also
It's
our
so
generation
true.
that kind of was the
Yeah.
one that got
Yeah.
introduced to such intense
Yeah.
technology. So
Yeah.
it's so interesting to see how it's impacting
So
our
true.
stress, obviously, and mental health and
Yes.
just health overall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I got to
yeah.
read that book. I'm going to ask you later for the name of it. But yeah,
Yes,
so true.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, progress over perfection, but things to think about. And
yeah.
yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
And well, I was going to ask you about the 3 tips
Yeah.
on section of it. I'm excited that you already said it, but I
Oh,
do want
perfect.
to ask, like, if somebody
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
confused, doesn't know what to do, doesn't even know if they have PCOS, what do you feel like is the
Yeah.
first step for them to do? Like
Yeah.
to go research whatever that can be.
Yeah. So if you are unsure about PCOS, I would ask your doctor for a full hormone panel and a pelvic
Mm-hmm.
ultrasound, and to get your blood sugars checked and go from there,
Okay.
because then we'll be able
Okay.
to see, like, yes, PCOS is playing a role, or no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if there's any kind of symptom that I talked about today that somebody's struggling with, I work with a lot of women who don't have a formal PCOS diagnosis, but might struggle in that area, and we can help. There's things that we
Mm-hmm.
can do for you. You're not just, no PCOS diagnosis, get out of here. Like, it's not like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone is welcome, but if there's something that, you're wanting to work on, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Anything within the realm of hormones is my
Mm-hmm.
jam. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Is
Yeah.
it like a spectrum? Are there different types of PCOS?
Um,
Because
yeah, there's some, I see this a lot, like types of PCOS. We don't have any scientific evidence proving that there are types of PCOS. This is something that a functional medicine doctor, who I actually really like, but kind of positioned out, like, and people have just run with it. But the truth is that, trying to squeeze us into four distinct boxes is never going to work, because the truth is that the vast, overwhelming majority of us are going to check boxes from each one. And I always say labels are for jars, right? So I
yeah,
don't care
yeah, I
what
love that.
type you are. Yeah, if you're struggling with one symptom from this type and one from another, like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to treat your symptoms. Like, I'm going to treat whatever's going on for my patient. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the types of PCOS, but you will hear and see, like, rhetoric out there about that. What
Yeah,
was your first
yeah.
question before that? Um,
Was it like on a spectrum? Because I
oh, a
find
spectrum.
now that we're able to put a lot of
Yeah,
things on a spectrum instead of kind of diagnose and put into like
right.
these boxes.
So technically no, but I have heard the term mild PCOS thrown around a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that term, because to me it's kind of like saying someone's kind of pregnant. Like,
Yeah,
no, either you're struggling or you're not. And if you're
yeah,
struggling, I'm going to help you. I don't care
yeah.
how severe your symptoms feel. If your acne, and that's the only thing you're struggling with, is causing you to feel self-conscious, unworthy, all of these things, I'm going to help you. I'm here to treat
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I don't like it because it feels dismissive, to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't consider it to be on a spectrum, but I do think that there are many other things that could be on a spectrum, but
Mm-hmm.
PCOS, not so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yes.
This was so interesting and helpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so much for having
joining.
me. Thank you, Daniela.
Alrighty. And where can anyone find you?
Yeah. So I mostly live on Instagram. It's my handle is at the Women's Dietitian, and P.S. That's with two T's, dietitian. A lot of people spell it with a C. Common
Mm-hmm.
misconception. So the Women's Dietitian, my website is www.thewomensdietitian.com. My PCOS supplement line is called Vita PCOS, and you
Mm-hmm.
can find that through my website or on my Instagram. What else? What am I missing? Well, I guess well, yeah, I haven't launched or haven't, excuse me, announced my book yet on my Instagram. So that's coming soon.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh. Can't
yes,
wait to get my hands on it. How
yes,
exciting. Well,
yeah, please.
congratulations.
Thank
You've
you.
done
Thank you so
amazing,
much.
and you really are creating what
Yeah.
people need,
Oh,
the
thank
one-stop
you.
shop for
Hope
people.
so.
So grateful
Hope
for
so.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank you so much,
much.
Cory.